Akufo-Addo attempts to build a political consensus against Galamsey following claims the MPP suffered huge losses in the 2020 election due to the president's fight against illegal mining. On Top Story tonight, 16 interest groups have 2 days to find answers to 12 questions expected to end the menace of illegal mining. And Top Story is always brought to you by Gasem Cement. The nation builder is also brought to you by Vodafone. Now, President Akufo-Addo, backed by his Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, are tonight attempting to build a political consensus against illegal mining as the counter-political cost of fighting Galamsey in the just ended 2020 elections. All political parties that participated in the 2020 elections have been invited to be part of a national consultative dialogue that got underway today, together with 16 other interest groups, with the hope that they can agree on a common position against illegal mining. At the opening of the dialogue, the president was emphatic that the two main political parties cannot be undermining each other in the fight against Galamsey. We'll bring you what he's been saying shortly. We'll also hear from John Jinapor, who is the Lands and Natural Resources Minister, who's been articulating how much of a significant blow it was for them in the just ended elections as it took on Galamsey in some parts of the country, and how it reflected in the huge losses they suffered, as we've seen in Parliament shortly. Now, as I've indicated, as part of the attempts tonight to try and get all the political parties on board this time, they've invited all former Lands and Natural Resources Ministers to be part of this consultative dialogue. One of them is Mr. Inusa Fuseni, who joins us on the telephone line right now. We'll hear the president shortly as he articulates the need for the political parties to be aligned on the matter. But Mr. Fuseni himself, I understand, had been instrumental today in leading some of the discussions. And so delighted to have him join us. Mr. Fuseni, you understand one of the lead figures in the discussions that were had today. In what spirit, I guess, did you agree to play this lead role that you did today?
Well, thank you so very much for inviting me to be part of this discussion this evening. The dialogue that happened today was a dialogue to build national consensus on small-scale mining. As a citizen of this country, I should be interested, and I'm interested in ensuring that we bring the menace under control. And so I will not refuse any invitation that is intended to discuss ways of having the menace under control. And I went there as the former Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, who had initiated some fight towards sanitizing the small-scale mining sector on the instructions of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. And so I went there to share my experiences and also to lead, to be the chairman of a panel of 5 discussants to tease out the problems in the small-scale mining sector, its successes and challenges, and the way forward in that sector.
And today we had the president say, and we'll get to hear him shortly, say that we cannot, and just to paraphrase what he said, that we cannot have one political party promoting Galamsey in the bush, another political party fighting it in the open. You agree?
Well, I agree because in 2004, well, let's start from 2000. In 2000, the political terrain for Galamsey was different. The party in opposition campaigned on Galamsey. The party in power campaigned against Galamsey. In 2004, the same. I mean, depending on whose foot the shoe is. I mean, you find people talking about Galamsey as if it's not of consequence. And so I agree. And the president himself played politics with Galamsey in 2016. And so, yes.
Galamsey, when you say he played politics, be specific, are you saying he promoted it?
I'm saying he played politics away.
Asking he benefited politically from the problem.
Well, I said he played politics for me. I think I'm so clear in my mind. Because he had said that, well, Obi Muslim, if I'm back, I'm saying, and you're not correct. Ningu, and drop. He had said it specifically.
And then John Mahama in 2020 also goes out publicly.
I'm not comparing John Mahama.
No,
and
just indicating. No, you're not. I'm asking a question.
Comparing John. I'm not.
I'm just asking a question. It just laying out the problem, I guess, is what we're doing here, which is that you indicated that in 2016 and all through, right? But to be fair, also in 2020, John Mahama was on the field indicating that he would free illegal miners who have been arrested by this current government.
So what have you said that is different from what I've said? I've said that from 2000, political parties, depending on whose leg the shoe is, has played politics with Galamsey. So what have you said that is different from what I've said?
What I've simply indicated is that it casts a crosswalk.
This is a national dialogue. Don't lead us into making it partisan. Don't lead us into that direction.
No, but you are painting the problem without mentioning that in the NDC has been a problem too in terms of the campaigning that was happening in the past.
The president has said that the two political parties cannot be fighting each other. So that's no issue. Because the president admits that the two political parties have been fighting each other. So that is no issue. The issue is how do we deal with Galamsey? That's the issue. And I think that the national dialogue is intended to bring the issue to the fore and build national consensus on how to deal with it.
It's interesting.
Probably in the words of the president, to remove political parties and political interference from dealing with the menace of small-scale mining. And I agree. Because as humans, you and I are part of the ecosystem. We have a duty to respect other components of the ecosystem. Small-scale mining cannot be despoiling our environment, cannot be polluting our water bodies, cannot be posing health challenges to areas where these mining activities take place. Then we'll close our eyes to the effects of the bad negative effects of illegal small-scale mining. So I agree. And that's why I went there.
So you participating, obviously, because of, and again, it must be indicated, you also led a national charge against illegal mining. So you've experienced the problem firsthand.
Yes.
And of course, you've had lessons in terms of how that fight went. And I guess that's why you're lending your experience to this particular cause. But then again, can the politics be taken away from this? I mean, and how do you do it?
So I said, in my concluding remarks, I said quite clearly, there is no land in Ghana that is not owned by somebody. If you come to the traditional setup, the land on which small-scale or illegal small-scale mining is taking place must belong to somebody, a chief of that area. And that chief must be a paramount chief. Politically, there is no land that is not under a district, municipal, or metropolitan chief executive. Which metropolitan, municipal, or district chief executive will be under a minister. So, KTI, I've said it on your network before, key performance indicator. The president must tax all his DCs, MCs, or his appointees, especially the regional ministers and the district chief executives, that their ability to control small-scale mining in their areas will be a key performance indicator on their success or their continuous maintenance of the office. You must fix people with responsibility. And then when you fix them with responsibility, they come up with the results, and then you can work on the results. Because during the discussion, it came out clearly that some of the fields are owned by politicians, and that those who are working on the fields are just workers. The beneficial owners of the fields are politicians, and probably powerful politicians. So how do you deal with these powerful politicians who are well connected? Unless you charge a district chief executive and the minister to stamp out illegal small-scale mining in their various jurisdictions. Then when they are confronted with challenges, they can report back to the presidency. And the presidency must establish a small office for the purposes of receiving such complaints. And I will hasten to add, the President has said that he will deal with anybody who is found culpable in illegal small-scale mining, except that he will not act on hearsay.
Exactly.
The President should not have added that case yet.
Why shouldn't he?
Everybody knows that you don't deal with hearsay to punish. You don't take hearsay to punish. It must be on concrete, established evidence. Now, but the President will have to work with hearsay. The President will have to work with hearsay evidence, because that hearsay evidence might lead him to many areas or many activities of persons who are under the radar.
Are you suggesting that he must probe every hearsay evidence?
No, I'm not saying you probe every. I'm not saying that. I have not used that word. I'm saying that some hearsay evidence might be material, tangential, required for the purposes of fighting small-scale mining, illegal small-scale mining.
You paint a very troubling picture of how beneficial owners could be very powerful political players.
Yes.
It begs the question, and I guess no wonder the problem persists after years of trying different things. Honestly, how much of a difference do you think this consultative dialogue will make?
Well, this is the beginning. We must, first of all, take it as an honest attempt by this government to try to rein in the problem. I think that the presidency is entitled to that. Tomorrow will be day 2 of the dialogue, and a communique will be issued. Thereafter, all of us will begin monitoring the activities of this government under President Akufo-Addo on his commitment to root out illegal small-scale mining. But it's too early yet to assess him. He's evinced a commitment and intention to fight illegal small-scale mining. He's, by calling for a national dialogue, admitted that there was little or no success in his first attempt. So we need to grant him that and then see exactly how he will follow the communique that will be issued after tomorrow's session.
Mr. Fuseni, please stay with me. I want to bring in Ken Ashigbe, who is the convener of the Media Coalition Against Illegal Mining. Mr. Ashigbe wasn't there today, participated today, but he's led on this matter vociferously from the front since, of course, the coalition was formed sometime in 2017. Mr. Ashigbe, so I'm pretty sure you followed the discussions that has now materialized in this consultative forum, and the president today was clear that the politicization of the issue is a key problem. In fact, his Lands and Natural Resources Minister yesterday on PM Express had indicated quite elaborately how their fight cost them huge votes in key parts of the country, and that needs to be taken out of the equation first in terms of the politicization before we can even make progress. What's your reaction to that?
Well, Evans, I think this is a point I have made severally. At some point, when the fight was going on, really going on, you had, political actors wanting to take advantage of it. But I think Honorable Odisa Fuseni has put it right. Both parties, the NDC and the MPP, depending on where they have been, have, taken advantage of this in one way or the other. But I think that with the call that has been made and the position that has been made by Honorable Odisa Fuseni, I think for us in the media too as well, it is time we stopped fanning the political divide of this.
But we must expose the politicians, should we not? We must expose those.
That has not helped us.
Yeah, but we must expose those politicians who are involved in fanning this also. We can't keep quiet when we see that they are playing there.
Yeah, but I think, Evans, as gatekeepers ourselves, we should not constantly allow them to be the people setting the agenda. And that's one of the things that the media has done with this fight against Galamsey. We've taken it as a notch higher and rather taking it more at advocacy than just journalism, and said that we know that this thing affects us. It's an existential threat, and so everybody has acceded to the fact that the major challenge in all of this has been the politicization, the failure of leadership. So I think that the time has come now for us to say that, fortunately for us in Ghana, we've had two parties around this country since the 1992 Constitution, and say that just playing on the partisan drum has not helped us. How can all of us come together, both parties, not apart from the politicians, bring together civil society, bring together academia, bring together other research organizations, yourselves, the media, so that we confront this? Whether we like it or not, the funding of political parties you've been tainted with money from Galamsey, and it's been one of the challenges that has confronted us. So it is really important at this stage that we leave that conversation and focus on what can we do to bringing both parties together, bringing everybody together to say that let's deal with this thing that is an existential threat.
And I guess that's where it starts. And we're hearing today, of course, I'm pretty sure you'll be part of this consultation at some point.
Well, interestingly, I was supposed to have been on a panel. I was representing the media coalition, but unfortunately, I had two other major assignments as well that took me away from being at the session today. I'm sure I will try and make time to be there tomorrow. So I was represented by Afel Money. And I think that the way this has started and the fact that you had the people like the Honorable Minister Husseini who have had, stints with dealing with this thing, all being part of it, I think it's a good start. So it is a good start. And I think we all need to give it an opportunity for it to be able to bear. But we all agree that beyond the talking, there's a lot of work that has to be done. And I completely agree with Honorable Minister Husseini when he talks about the fact that dealing with the issue of Galamsey starts with local leadership. So I've always said that all district chief executives, MCs that can constantly now have Galamsey taking place in their district are the first people to lose their jobs. Then we'll escalate it to the regional ministers who are also supervising.
Let me ask you honestly. You honestly
Very
believe...
recently, I have had situations where, we had to call on him. We'd call on the district police commander in that where Galamsey was happening in town. And they were not dealing with it. So in this situation, the MC is either complicit in it or incompetent.
And what has happened? What has happened today?
Which of them works? It's not worthy of representing the president there. So I agree that fighting Galamsey, and I hear the new minister talking about decentralizing it, is the right way to go, and is to hold this local authorities accountable.
Yeah,
to
I
say
mean,
that if you cannot deal with it,
just on
and
that
you have
example,
not raised
just
it,
on that
and once
example,
they raise the fact that they are,
just on
they
that
need
example you
support,
raised,
then
Mr.
central
Shigbe.
government needs to go
Can you hear me, Mr.
support them.
Shigbe?
But if that is not happening, then definitely they are not worthy of being able to be the
Yeah,
people.
can you hear me, Mr. Shigbe?
Of this fight.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Yes, I'm asking you. I mean, this latest example you just given of this MC who, of course, because the thing was happening under his nose, may have been complicit. What has happened to him since the issues were raised? He's still at post, I'm pretty sure.
Nothing. Not really. You see, and those are the things that we would need a system set up, and that's why I would want to align with what Honorable
commitments that we need to judge the president
when they happen and they are raised up to the national level, this DCE should be asked questions. The same way the president sacked a DCE just before the elections who had made some comments about illegal mining. Same thing should be done. And this Dunkwa, the MC for this Dunkwa place, it's still not old. And I am hoping that as we sit in this consultative committee and we're discussing it, we should be able to go ask him, because fortunately for us, it was his MP who then went into the community and was able to stop them. But anytime he left and came back to Accra, to Parliament, they started again. And you see, if we're not careful in this Dunkwa town, because that flood that happened some time back that killed some people, because of this illegal mining they're doing, it will happen again. So it's really important that the DCE, MCEs, regional ministers that have Galamsey happening in their places should quickly, if they know that they don't have the power to be able to deal with it because the beneficiary owners are more powerful, they should raise it and flag it openly so that central government can then come in there and be able to support them. And the Minister for Land and Natural Resources should really be on the lookout and be able to have a line to all of these people so that we can support. But the first point of call is the MCE, DCE, who is the District Security Chief, Committee Chairperson, as well as the District Mining Committee Chairperson. They have the primary responsibility as leadership, representative of the president in those places, to stem the tide, and the central government should support them to be able to fight.
And to that question, Ms. Ashigbe, in all your time doing this, do you have a sense that there is a political will to do what you're saying?
Well, you see, you look at the fruits, and you want to judge by the outcomes of it, because some of the things are so open and so frontal that you want to be able to deal with it. And I think the challenges politicians have had, and all politicians have had, is that because at the end of the day, it's about the next 4 years. It's about going back for votes. And you've heard yesterday on PM Express, the minister talk about the fact that it impacted upon them. So they then tend to look at that. And so if we can get the point where we get commitment from the two largest political parties and the smaller ones all come together and say, for this particular one, we are all going to stand together resolute to be able to do it. Then we'll be able to, but the political will would also not come. And I think we also all need to acknowledge at a point that the president demonstrated political courage. But whether it went all the way to the end is another question that we want to ask. But we now also, as media, should also be holding everybody accountable. I know the media has done it so up to a point, but at some point we also took our leg off the accelerator. We need to keep it on there and hold everybody accountable. What we would need for this particular fight is leadership with integrity that decides that they will apply the hot stove principle. It would burn everybody, no matter who you are, and the right things ought to be done.
Yeah.
And I think that is very important.
Mr. Fuseni, I wonder, and just to get some clarity, I know you were there. I don't know whether you were there in your personal capacity as somebody who had been minister before, or you were there representing the party.
I was invited as a former minister for Lands and Natural Resources.
Okay, and I guess...
And I was acknowledged by the president.
From that conversation we've just been having, I guess there's a consensus even on this conversation that the political parties themselves, beyond well-intentioned individuals like yourself, must pull their weight behind this. You agree?
Yes. We must put out. I mean, there is no way out. Evans, there is no way out of this crisis. I call it crisis because what is happening is really serious. And there's no way out. We must put our energies together to be able to fight it. You need to go to Dunkwa area and see what is happening. You need to go to Safiu area and see what is happening. I don't know whether you have averted your mind to the open pits that have been left by illegal small-scale miners into which children are falling into. I don't know whether you have averted your mind to the chemicals being used by these small-scale miners, which is taking its toll on the people living in the areas where this small-scale mining is taking place. The trees that are the lungs of people on earth are being cut down. Before long, you might not have fresh air to breathe. It is because of we ourselves that we must fight the illegal miners. Nowhere on earth is an extractive industry allowed to operate with impunity. Nowhere. They are always regulated. They are regulated because their activities adversely impact the environment. And so why will we think that because political parties are actively involved, we should throw our hands in the air?
Specifically, just briefly, was the NDC represented today?
Well, I didn't go checking for representation. I went there because I was invited. I sat with Collins Dauda, and I saw Sohini, and I saw a host of other MPs. And the president, in delivering his address, acknowledged that former ministers of Lands and Natural Resources had been invited.
I mean, I know the minister said to me yesterday that they invited the NDC. You would expect that the party at the very highest level will be represented and participate, correct?
I didn't go looking for them.
I mean, just asking in the interest of this conversation that you, as a key member, you expect the party should be participating.
Well, but it's a national dialogue. It's not an MPP dialogue. It's a national dialogue. And the chiefs were there. The MPs from both sides were there.
I'm talking about the NDC, Mr. Fuseni.
Well, so I didn't actually, maybe I should have looked out for them, but I didn't go there.
I mean, your expectation at least.
Partisan glasses.
I get it. I mean, we all know that all sides must be represented, and it starts with the political parties.
So
I
I took it for granted that because all sides were to be represented, the NDC was represented, and other political parties as well were represented. Because I saw Joseph Osu Yabua, you know him?
Yes, I do. The presidential
candidate. I saw him there. He even asked a question.
Great. Gentlemen, thank you very much. This is just a conversation that is beginning. In fact, the sector minister is staking his tenure, his own integrity on this very matter.
I've met people who say your tenure as minister will be the
Apologies there. We'll try and bring you that ink set definitely in the course of Newsnight, which, by the way, starts in a second.